Hello, this is Elite Magazine. I am Sunzu, and with me I have Trolls Synderen Nielsen, the famed caster from Dota Cinema, and he's also been an analyst and a co-caster here at ESL One Frankfurt. Just to start off, how have you liked the tournament so far? What's been your experience casting it? What stood out for you so far?
I think we've been really lucky with the teams and the games this time around. It's obviously, we knew it was going to be a packed tournament. I think it was nice to see that all the teams showed up in really good form. There were, out of all the games we've seen, I think, even though we had a lot of 2-0s, it never felt like it was a complete beatdown. So I like that a lot. Obviously, love being at ESL One. The crowd is amazing. The whole atmosphere of this is very unique. So that's a big plus for me.
Yeah, and is there any particular team that's really stood out for you, or any player that stood out for you? Anyone you want to nominate as, a really exciting person to watch right now?
As far as teams go, there's a reason EG and Secret into the finals. I think they were one step ahead at this event. Players to watch out for, I feel like the drafting, honestly. Yeah. So the captains on both sides, obviously the drafts are done by the teams, but end of the day, the drafter has the final say and has the pressure on them to make the right decisions. So as boring as that may be, I really feel like the drafting has been a very, very big part of Secret and EG's success.
You used to be a drafter yourself, captain of teams. So what kind of drafts particularly appeal to you? Which drafts are the ones that send a shiver down your spine?
I like drafts that have a really clear, either drafts that are very, not necessarily all in-ish, but where it's very obvious from the way the heroes are combined, like that there's a very clear game plan, there's a very clear timing window that you're trying to hit. For example, some pushing strategies are very, very fun to watch, like minute 20 base pushes, stuff like that. I really like to watch a very well executed split push strategy. I hate playing against it. It's really cool to see. Because it's a different depth you get out of that kind of game when you can see teams really using the map very well, and funnily enough, the two teams that use the map the best are also the ones in the grand finals. I think Secret in particular have been really, really good at split pushing this tournament. Most other teams have been focusing on like the 5-man team fight, not really death ball, but more just getting lineups that really fight very well together. Of course, it's always fun to watch wombo combos and stuff like that, but they're really situational, and I feel like a lot of the time when those strategies win, it's because the enemy team makes some really big mistakes that you capitalize on in a big way.
Yeah, and like the fact that you say you like these timing pushes, that actually really brings to mind sort of the kind of drafts that your teams used to be famous for. You used to do like these sort of like hard push strats. You like mid-game, and you just sort of siege the base. We don't see a lot of like that pure like siege lineup. Do you think there's anything special that's like missing for those to be viable? Personally, when Chen got the Aghanims upgrade, I thought we'd see a lot more like 30-40 minute Chen Aghanims, that kind of base pushes.
Well, the last version has nerfed junglers quite a bit. You simply get less golden experience out of the jungle, so heroes like Chen have fallen off quite a bit. I still think it can definitely work, but once again, those key items that you would used to get in previous versions, say minute 20, maybe you get them 25 now, and it has a really big impact on the game, even though it doesn't sound like that much. Everything obviously adds up in snowballs, right? So as far as for pushing strats to work in general, I think they definitely can. Pipe has been buffed. Mech was nerfed, but we got Guardian Greaves, which can be great in that kind of timing pushes. And I think we do see lineups, especially built around Pugna, that tend to do a good job at pushing base Pugna and dying strategies, but they just get banned a lot nowadays because of that. I still think there are possibilities. One of the heroes I'm looking to is Keeper of the Light, that we've seen Secret use. They've used it mainly for split pushing, but you can definitely incorporate it in strategies that look to push during the day. That can still, I'm sure it can still work.
Indeed. Also, looking towards TI, that's the next event on the calendar. TI tends to slow down the meta. As a person who's played at several TIs, what is it that makes it so hard to keep up that aggression going into a TI? Is it like, can these teams, like we see these really aggressive Eastern teams right now, Empire and stuff like that. Do you expect them to slow down for TI, or do you think that they can, like, is it viable to just continue that way even when there's so much on the line?
I think the tendency was different at TI2 and TI3 than at TI4. I would definitely agree at TI2 and 3 the game got slowed down a little bit. At TI4 we had some games that were long, but we also had some really short pushing games, like 15-20 minutes. I want to say a lot of the teams have just grown a lot in their understanding of the game. If you go back just a few years, a lot more mistakes were made. It was less clear with the game plan. I think especially captains have improved a lot in their understanding of how to tie together a lineup, how to call for your team and make the game flow the way you want. So if you go back to that point, you were like, okay, we keep making mistakes. Let's play, excuse me, let's pick a safe strat that has some sort of fallback mechanism, and then, you've run into heroes like Naga that come up all once in a while. For example, in TI2 and TI3 became a strong pick. So it was just a safer way of playing back then. Now I think if you play too passively and you just sit back, you get aggressed a lot, and the teams have become a lot better at that. The game has also made it more rewarding to gank, all in all. So I think maybe we'll see TI slow things down a bit, but I'm still expecting definitely a shorter average game time than what we may have been used to in the past.
Okay. Also, going into TI, like right now, even at this event, the Chinese teams, they underperformed. At MDL, they underperformed. They didn't even get into the top 3 there. So we were used to seeing them always bounce back. What do you think, what could be the key to them bouncing back? What do they need to figure out? What's missing in how they're playing the game right now?
I think in this tournament, I didn't watch that much of Mars, but in this tournament, I think a big part of the problems that they've had is I feel like they get out strategized. I don't feel like they're individually weaker players. Obviously, players develop and some peak at different times. Like a player who maybe wasn't that good last year is suddenly incredible, and vice versa. It just like the dynamic just changes from time to time with like hero pools in the game. But all in all, I would say a team like IG, a team like LGD, a team like VG Gaming have the talent for sure to be able to compete with Secrets and EGs, but they get outdrafted in quite a few of the games. It just feels like they don't have a clear idea of what they're trying to accomplish in the same way. So I would say leadership is the problem, and it shines through not only in the draft, but also in like really crucial game-deciding moments. It's like that's actually, to give an example, that's the only thing that Cloud9 are missing in a tournament like this, to be able to overtake the Chinese as well. That is their point of weakness in comparison to Secret and EG, is that their decision-making, their captainship, their drafting is not on the level of the others. So EG and Secret have just pulled ahead a bit on that, and I think if the Chinese find a way to solidify their drafts, to feel confident going into every game that they know what they're doing and that they understand what Secret and EG are trying to do, which I think in some of the games they just get caught by surprise. We saw like the techie strategy against Fnatic yesterday. It seemed like they weren't prepared for it. Then when they faced it, they had no idea what to do in the game and just got run over. So those two teams just have a little more edge. Apart from that, I don't feel like the Chinese are behind.
Yeah. In terms of when you've got a month until that big tournament, how do you fix a problem that stems from leadership? Can you fix it in that short a period of time? And like there's some talk about the role of sports psychologists in various team building exercises and what these could do in esports. Do you think that might be a tool that the teams should be looking to start implementing more?
I think if you take just standard sports psychology and try to implement it, I think some things work and some won't work so well, and it has a lot to do with how the players have grown over time, right? Their experience inside of esports. If you suddenly try to take, let's say, regular sports terminology or psychology or whatever and apply to them, some will respond more positively to it than others, and that means in some kind of teams it can work really well, whereas in others it would probably fall to the ground and maybe even be detrimental. So you need to know what kind of teams you're working with, how it works. I personally think that as far as the whole captainship and drafting, maybe some of the teams would benefit more from having a little more of more input from their coach. I'm not sure to what extent the Chinese teams, how much they use their coach and how much attention and trust they have in him. Because sometimes when it comes to internal structure in a team and things just aren't working, it will be difficult for the players to reach an agreement. And then having that outside voice of reason that can come in and try to help you solve their problems can be really, really powerful. I think for a team like EG, even though Charlie is not an ex-competitive player or anything, I think he does a really big load of work for them in helping them work as a team and solve their problems that they have. For a team like Secret, once again, 1437, I think is doing more work than people give him credit for. So that would be an approach. Get a coach and give him have more faith in him, give him more responsibility, and see if you can get something in return. Unless, if you can, just inside the team fix the problems. But sometimes that doesn't work. We're looking at Avicii Gaming right now that seems to be a little bit struggling with drafting. They had, I think, FY drafting, then they switched it over to How. I don't feel like that's gone any better. It's, you know, when I see a shift like that, it's generally because of either one of two things. Either the team starts losing trust in the captain, which is really, really a big problem, or they try to mix things up a bit because things aren't going so well, so let's try something new and see how that works. And if it's the former, it's a big problem. If it's the latter, you know, even a team like Secret has had 3 different drafters. They've had Zai, they've had Puppy, now they have S4, who's been really good at it. It seems like they all get behind him and know what they're doing. So they need a clear captain, a clear, like, a common idea of how they want to play the game instead of, like, going in different directions.
Well, thank you. That was very insightful as ever. And for you back at home, if you like what we've been doing here at ESL One Frankfurt, you can follow us at www.leapmag.com.
Like what you see? Why not subscribe to the magazine at leapmag.com?